Good afternoon. My name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. As you know, we provide nationally professional workshops. Today's workshop is going to be on the program design and the program approach, specifically to nonprofits. The key to getting funding is having a program design that is realistic and that is achievable. So we're going to talk about what does that look like. Well, let me give a little bit of information about me. So my name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. The picture that you see um, and that's me standing up talking to students at the University of South Florida, that is grad students, about grant writing and community development. I also was fortunate enough to provide a or to serve as a speaker at John Hopkins University College in Baltimore, to speak to those grad students way back in the day on community development. So I've been doing this for a minute. And the reason why I started doing this is because I come from one of the most poorest communities in the nation. And what I saw time after time was that programs and projects and people was coming in, but the condition in my neighborhood and those neighborhoods that look like my neighborhood remain the same. My purpose then that I took on was to create opportunity to transform communities like mine. I understood that in order to do that, I had to educate myself. So I went through a lot of training. That training include how to put together program development, strategic and tactical planning, business development, organizational developments, and grant proposal, and community and economic development, to name a few. I started back in 1980, in the 1980s. I started as a community organizer, and from there I went to program developer and designing comprehensive programs throughout the United States. Since 2011, and this is based upon me having over 30, 35 years experience in the community nonprofit sector. In 2011, I started the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. It was to provide technical support in the area of effective skill sets to start up an existing nonprofit. To date, we have been successful in providing technical assistance nationally, and that is by way of our training. And we offer a way of different training. And most of our training are virtual training. But in that respect, we provided that training to over 3,500 nonprofits, government agencies, faith-based groups, businesses, and individuals in over 36 states. And in addition to that, we assisted over 300 nonprofits to get that paperwork, to prepare that paperwork for them to become a nonprofit in over 20 different states throughout the United States. So today's conversation is going to be about the program design and the approach. Without this, you are more likely than not able to get funding. A lot of times when you're smaller nonprofits going after grants, they don't really have a good program design. And they might not get the grant for a couple of reasons. One might be that they don't have the capacity financially in order to take on the grant. And the second might be that they don't have the program infrastructure necessary to do a best practice, evidence-based program. So let's talk about the different parts of the program design. The first part is called the conceptualization stage. This is what we call the what stage. What is it that you want to do? The first element of that is called program goals. Goals should specify the results from program services that you plan to administer. Those goals should be specific and measurable. They should be realistic. They should be done in a timely manner. The second part of this is program strategy. A strategy is the plan of action, method, or process, or specific step taken to accomplish your goal. Program objective. Program objectives program objectives specify the outcome of your project. You could say it's the end result that you're trying to bring about. They are tangible. Also, your goals must be hold on about this, lost my chain of thought. In terms of your goals, it could be different types of objectives. So it must meet one of these objectives. One, the goal must be behavioral. That is, you want to change a human action that is anticipated. Second, performance. That is a specific time frame within which the behavior will occur. Then process. Could be a process objective. This is the manner in which you find something occurs in the end result of itself. Again, the process objective is the manner in which something occurs in the end results in itself. The process might be that you do A, then you do B, then you do D, example. The next type of objective is what we call a product objective. This is if you want to create a manual or a book or lesson plan. This is a tangible result. Again, your objectives should be behavioral, performance, process, or product. And you need to understand the difference between these. SMART objectives. So before we get to SMART objectives, there are still two other components I want to talk about in terms of conceptualization. In addition to the goals and objectives and the strategy that we talked about earlier, the other piece of that is that you should be able to provide program tactics. Tactics are activities or actions taken to achieve the larger purpose. They are also the what and not the how, but they are smaller scale than the execution. What is the execution? The execution is what is done to deliver on or coordinate a strategy. They are definitely a what and not a how. The next section is going to talk about the how when we get deep into program design. Let's look at what objectives should be. And this is what funders look for also. First of all, objectives should be SMART. SMART objectives are methods for setting the clear and achievable goal. So what are the different parts of SMART objectives? First, the objectives should be specific. That is, your goals should be well defined and clear. Your goals should be measurable. That is, goals should have a quantifiable criteria for success. Next, your goals should be achievable. Achievable. Goals should be realistic and attainable. They should be relevant. Goals should be aligned with the broader objective. And then finally, your objective should be time bound. Goals should have a specific time frame for completion. So let's do an overview of that when we talk about conceptualization. And let's look at the different parts of that. This chart is broken into two pieces. First is two pieces, the means and the ends. Let's start with the ends when we come to project overview. The end is what is the vision that you want to bring about? What does the world look like when you finish doing what you're doing? This is what we call what are the desired results that you plan to bring about. And you bring about these desired results by putting together your goals and your objectives. Now, the question is, how do you really bring about your vision? And this is what we call the means, which is your mission. Your mission talks about the course of action you plan to take in order to bring about the vision. And this is where you look at your strategies and your tactics. Okay, now let's go to the how when it comes to what you plan to do. And the how is what we call the method section or the program design. The method section describes your project activities in detail, indicating how your objectives will be accomplished. And it should include the following. You should be able to provide a description of how you will achieve each objective. If you got 5 objectives, there should be 5 descriptions. There should be a description of the personnel that you're going to need, the staff you're going to need, and staff requirements, and qualification, and job description. There should be a description of the facilities that you need, the equipment that you're going to need, and the materials also that you need to put together. Next, there should be a description of how the program will be administered. How would it be coordinated with other activities? That is, scope of activities should be reasonable within the time frame allotted. And next, there should be a description of environment, if any, of the target population that you're talking about, having them engage and getting their thoughts as relates to the program, getting that feedback. Then next, there should be a description of what will occur from the time the project begins until when it is end. For example, a lot of program reports are going to ask you to report back to them, and they're going to say, we want to know what's going on for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days until the program is all over. You have to be able to break down a timeline on everything that's going on there if you definitely want to get that particular grant. You must be able to know how to do reports as well. And we have a different program, that training program we're doing. How do you create a report when the grantor have given you the grant and asking for reports? Okay, then lastly, you should have a description of the order. I think I did this already. A description of the order and timing of each task. I think I talked about that already. This is what happens when you're on live and you've been doing presentations all day long. Let's continue. Okay, so let's break it down when we're talking about the what. I mean, the how we want to do it. And we're going to break it down into three separate units. Combined together, they give the acceptable activities that the funder wants to see. First is the work plan. We talked about it. We call it the program design. So the program design should meet the stated need. The need must be that the objective that you're doing, the programs you're doing, have to be able to further the need statement that you put together. It should reflect the life of the grant project, which you could put that in from day one to the end. It should demonstrate a well thought out plan. Next, it should detail recruitment of target population. How do you plan to bring in people and let them know what your program is all about? Next, you should talk about how you're going to build community partners. And then finally, you want to develop a contingent plan. Bros, suppose the original plan is not working. What is your backup plan? The next column is going to talk about what as it relates to your approach and implementation of your plan. We talked earlier about this being the execution. How are you going to execute the plan? So when we talk about approach, we talk about who are you who we're talking about the stakeholders that's going to be involved and the customers that's going to be involved in your approach. Your approach should address the cultural of that group of people that you're working with. And you should be able to describe your partners and what they would do specifically in order to further the success of your particular program. Um, that's important. Implementation is that's where you can mess everything up when you're going to implement a program. You have to make sure your implementation, the process of which you're going to bring this on board is good. I've seen a lot of groups mess up on this part. Then let's now talk about the project services. Remember we talked about you need to be able to create some type of program? Here's what the services component should consist of. It's to incorporate proven methods to accomplish the program goals or objectives. You should have tailored services to benefit the target community. Well, what that mean? You have to understand your community first before you can create a program. And it has to be tailored towards them. Not one of your not a general approach, but a tailored specific approach to the target population that you're dealing with. And it should emphasize individualized service, not services in general, but individualized services. And you should be able to cite examples of your activities. So we got all of that out of the way. We talk about the what, and the what deals with our goals, our objectives, our strategies. Then we talk about the how. That's when we talk about the program design, etc. Now we need to talk about how are we going to manage the program? What are the two tools that we're going to use in order to manage the program? Two of the most acceptable tools is what's called PrEP and Gantt. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So let's talk about the two. PrEP charts display tasks in a network diagram, highlighting the dependency. Greek charts show tasks and timelines in a bar graphic. Both have a place in the breakdown in terms of the structure. I challenge you to Google a Pat and a Google a Gantt chart. So I can't believe it. We're coming into another presentation. So look, as always, I hope this has helped you. Again, we are committed to providing those quality services to nonprofits, specifically nonprofits that that's getting started and nonprofits that have started and they want to expand to get bigger and better. Feel free to contact us. You see the two numbers in Tampa and Baltimore. Also, you see how you can get in contact with us on social media. We're YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as Facebook. Connect with us. Let us know how we can help your organization by cutting and pasting the below link under tell us how we can help you. This way, we can get a feeling as to your weaknesses and your strengths so we can work with you in order to get you to where you need to be it growing as a nonprofit or getting funding as a nonprofit or operating with an infrastructure. Thanks again. Cannot wait to our next presentation. One of our next presentation, we're going to talk about board training. All board of directors and nonprofits, when you're going for grants, must have yearly training. And training is to keep them up to par with the latest thing that's going on in the nonprofit world. And also that training is looking at every year, looking at the strategic plan to make sure, for example, if you have a 5-year plan, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Training can also be a time when you create a strategic plan.